Man, I know I shouldn't have sat down right here. This chair takes so much, drains so much energy out of nigga. I swear to God, this motherfucker got something off in it. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, let me rub my two fingers together, man, and pray to the money gods, hoping that they bless my game. And once again, I'm bringing you into the I Think I'm Blackball podcast, Squabbling Game Edition. Yes, sir. So what's the goddamn deal, man? Here it is, man. January the 28th, Sunday. I hope I got my dates right, man. I'm just rattling shit off. Ain't paying attention to a motherfucking thing. But, you know what I'm saying? I just ran across Mr. Chael P. Sonnen doing a breakdown of a new fight that's been scheduled. Stipe versus Daniel Cormier. Stipe Miocic. Or Miocic. However you pronounce it. I remember when I first saw Stipe, man. He came around the time where it was a lot of Russians came into the game. Khabib, Crow Cop was still in it. It was just a bunch of Russian names. I don't know why I thought that guy was from Russia or from somewhere on the east. He just had one of those names that the stoic look to him and shit. Then he started talking. I said, man, motherfucker. And come to find out, he's from Ohio. So, shout out to Stipe, man. I think could be considered one of the best fighters in the world. You know what I'm saying? Being that he's the heavyweight champion, he's broken the records. He's pretty much a better version of Cain Velasquez. Not saying he could beat Cain Velasquez or a well-oiled Cain Velasquez. He had a skill set that worked for him. But, yeah, so it's hard to say who would be the better. But skill for skill and looking at what's going on now, Stipe is just a better version. You know what I'm saying? Cain had really good boxing. I think Stipe moves his head a little bit better, stays off the center line. Cain was good at throwing hands, but neither here or there. You know what I'm saying? He I could see looking at Stipe like he does it a little bit better. But if you tie them both together, that would be the tail of the tape. You know what I'm saying? Just because you're better don't mean you're better. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, what I was trying to say, he's Cain 2.0. But the guy he's fighting is Cain's number one training partner, a.k.a. Cain's wrestling coach, who is probably one of the most dynamic wrestlers I ever seen in MMA. That blend the wrestling with the boxing. And, Daniel just took to it like a fish to water. Good to say. I ended up meeting King Mo Lawal back in like, let's say 2007, 2008. And, I was a fan of King Mo. For one, King Mo from the goddamn D. He was repping a D when he first came out. And, and how I got into the whole podcast life, the whole podcast journey, I got into it because of MMA Junkie. And Mo was a regular on MMA Junkie. So I ended up, I don't know, I think I ended up calling into the show or something like that. And, like every time Mo would come on there, man, he would give me a shout out or whatever. So it let me know that I guess the bond was legit. You know what I'm saying? And, Mo used to, Mo came in, he was pretty much a phenom when he came in. And he brought a group of guys in with him from Oklahoma wrestling. Most of them all went to the Olympics together. Wrestled on the U.S. team together. Daniel Cormier was one of them. So for Dan's debut, I was there. You know what I'm saying? And I think he was on that Strike Force Challenger series. I know it for a fact he was on Strike Force Challenger series, and it was real funny to me, man, because he was such a high level wrestler. he was really green, and but he was going out there. He was fighting like he'd been fighting his whole life. It's kind of funny when you see somebody that's, you know what I'm saying. I think Dan's probably like 5'10". You know what I'm saying. He was fighting heavyweight. I think he was weighing like 250, 260, something like that. So he was a big guy, but he was a short guy, and he was in there going through the motions like you know, like he really had been there. Kind of remind me of myself. You know, I put myself in some weird situations, and I don't want to act like it's my first time there. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you go, somewhere and your mom tell you act like you've been somewhere before. You know, so it was kind of funny to watch. But who would have known in 2018 Daniel would be done cruise through so many goddamn divisions, and if it wasn't for a nigga named John Jones, Dan would be probably the greatest fighter to ever live. You know what I'm saying? But like I say, it can only be one of those. And for some reason, I don't know, 2018, man, 2017, 2016, I say it started 2016. It's when I started to realize it real bad. Well, I guess you could say the skinny jean movement. You know, when the skinny jean movement came, you knew some shit was finna happen. But we got a real dilemma with great black men being shitted on. You know what I'm saying? We just can't get out our own way, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't quite understand what it is. You know, I was listening to motherfuckers. They talk about how bad John Jones is and how he ruined his career and how his ego and, you know, how he hang around a bad crowd. And I'm looking at Conor McGregor. Friend just got killed in training, getting rushed by the Russian mob or whatever. And nobody seemed to be saying that about old Conor. You know what I'm saying? So, as a matter of fact, people waiting on Conor to come back. So it's a weird dynamic, man, that when you notice these things, you just can't help but notice these things in us. Man, why ain't nobody putting shit out there like that? Let me sip my tea. But once again, back up off the bullshit, get back on Daniel Cormier. Who should win this fight, man? By all accounts, being a Daniel Cormier going up in weight, Stipe should win. You know what I'm saying? But, first of all, Daniel is no stranger to, let's go into the intangible. Let's try to walk through this, man, and break it down real simple. They both come from wrestling backgrounds. You know what I'm saying? They both have decent speed. Daniel has speed of a 205er. Stipe got the speed of a heavyweight. So naturally, it tells me Daniel ought to be the faster guy. They both have great boxing. Stipe has a boxing background. You know what I'm saying? He's pretty damn good. But Daniel has a natural knack for mixing the boxing with the wrestling. So both of them are grade A MMA boxers. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. But the advantage overall that I believe is Daniel Cormier has Olympic talent wrestling mixed with the collegiate style wrestling that, you know what I'm saying, that's pretty prevalent around MMA, but you always get one without the other. Like you'll get a Yoel Romero, who's a great Olympic wrestler, but the type of wrestling that he doesn't translate over to the MMA ground and pound type of style of wrestling. Daniel Cormier's wrestling translate to MMA as well. So when you look at Daniel's takedowns are effortless. You know what I mean? So it's not like he's shooting a double leg and trying really, really hard to get you on the ground. Daniel can find himself in any position, find himself on top of you. You know what I'm saying? And like I say, Daniel has been taken down before. One of the most dynamic things I've ever seen, right? I can mention a few dynamic things I've seen from Daniel Cormier. But one that really stands out is, damn it, I wish I could think of who the fight was against. Man, it was against one of them good motherfuckers. What's that tall, the tall Swedish guy? Gustafsson. I think it was against Gustafsson. I think Gustafsson took Daniel down. Somebody took Daniel down. I want to say it was a wrestler. Damn it, man, I can't think of who it was. But the point is, when he grabbed Daniel and took Daniel down to the floor, Daniel did a belly flop. You know what I'm saying? A fucking belly flop, which in amateur rankings, that would be the worst position you would ever want to see somebody do when they get taken down. But somebody with a pedigree like Daniel's, you kind of understand, man, that his muscle memory and his squirm game is so fucking elite that he put himself in that position to make himself more vulnerable for somebody to pounce on him, and he could lean his weight or move his body in the more proficient way to get out of that position. It's hard to explain, right? And I look at the intent, but a lot of times when I look at fights, I don't really see what everybody else sees. I see styles, and I see where the similarities lay. And when I seen what Daniel did, if he wouldn't not have got up out of that, because when I say when he did it, he was still so fucking athletic. The takedown didn't really mean much. You know what I mean? When I seen him do that belly flop, I said, I don't even know if he did it on purpose. I don't even know that's something I don't even know if that's an actual move. You know what I'm saying? But when I seen him do it, I said, man, this dude wrestling is so elite, because no matter how you would have, tried to, conquer that particular position that you was in, he was gonna get out of it. That's the reason he fell that way. Part of the reason why I think when we go all the way back to the elite days, and I remember when Seth Petrozelli knocked out Kimbo, and part of the reason Kimbo got knocked out is because when he fell, he couldn't believe he fell. He tried to stand right back up in front of a striker. You know what I mean? So part of the reason he lost was because he didn't know how to fall. And the fact that he didn't know how to fall was put him in a position to get knocked out. So the fact that Daniel Cormier knows how to be taken down, it's going to be hard to do something with the takedown when you get him took down. Being a Stipe is so heavy, being a Stipe is so athletic, you got 5 minutes around, it's asinine to believe that Stipe would never be able to get Daniel Cormier on the ground. I tend to believe it's a great chance that he doesn't, but in a 5 minute round, it's possible. You know what I mean? It's extremely possible. But I think Daniel Cormier gonna run away with this fight by decision. Another thing about Daniel Cormier is that he has a lot of pop. You know what I'm saying? He hits really hard, but for whatever reason, he don't really turn anybody off. You know what I'm saying? He hit hard as hell, but they're all like popping punches. And for whatever reason, he don't have that get him out of there punch. Stipe has put combinations together to break people down and eventually shut them off. You know what I mean? So Daniel can be shut off in his fight if Stipe cut the ring off properly. But Daniel Cormier pressure is so fucking ferocious. I don't give a damn how big Stipe is. Daniel Cormier pressure is so ferocious. You can watch the Gustafsson fight that you ain't gonna have to cut the ring off, man. You're gonna have to keep that nigga from getting. You're gonna have to keep him from getting in your chest. That's what you're gonna have. That's what you're gonna have to trade for. Keeping Daniel out your chest. Daniel coming. He can take a punch. He's hungry. He's determined. And both of these guys are fighters at heart. You understand what I'm saying? Stipe Miocic, the things that he does them so well. You know what I'm saying? In a division where it's kind of difficult to talk about how good he is. But Daniel Cormier, I watch him close. I mean, I've seen this guy pick up Josh Barnett over his head. You know what I'm saying? I've seen this guy throw what's my boy name? I can't forget my boy name. I don't know why I'm forgetting him, man. Dan Henderson. I seen him throw Dan Henderson like you play with your kid. You know what I'm saying? Throw him up in the air like you're throwing your kid on the bed. You know what I'm saying? So all this stuff, and when he does it, it's not like a brute strength thing. It's this guy understand leverage. You know what I'm saying? It's stuff like that. So the things that he do is so dynamic. You can go on and on and on and on about some of the things that Daniel Cormier does that defies normal MMA logic. As pretty much like John Jones. You put them neck and neck side by side. Them two guys you probably want to see fight 5 times. You know what I'm saying? In their prime. You know what I'm saying? But just because they so dynamic. And John has so many weapons above, so many weapons that Daniel don't have. John just a natural phenom. It shows you how good John Jones is, that Daniel Cormier is the second best fighter in the UFC by a very large margin. Show you how good John Jones is, man. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, the thing about MMA, man, MMA cult, man, we ain't no haters. You know what I'm saying? So you hear this conversation get thrown up over and over again because we say the exact same thing about Demetrius Johnson. You know what I'm saying? We say the exact same thing about Dominic Cruz. You know what I'm saying? We say you know what I mean? So you know, you get these conversations. So when you listen to me, man, and you hear me say these type of things, you got to remember, these guys are in a class of their own. You know, everybody have their day, and whose better time is it to come up for Daniel than with Stipe Miocic? So this is gonna be a hell of a fight, man. Anybody that's kind of sort of a fan need to tune in to this fight, this saga. Oh, as a matter of fact, they're gonna coach the house. You know what I'm saying? You know, the Ultimate Fighter house. You know, a lot of noobs like to get into the Ultimate Fighter house. I tell you what, man, when I was a noob, I had so much stuff to keep me occupied in the MMA, just the whole MMA, man. I had so much to keep me occupied, and you know, just being around that atmosphere, man, just made you feel lazy as fuck, man. I think Joe Rogan had like 10 jobs. He was the host, and you know what I'm saying, he break down shit very well. Also had the podcast and was also dropping comedy specials, and you know what I'm saying, I think he did a reboot of Fear Factor for a couple of weeks, you know what I'm saying. So, you know, you had people like that. You had you know, Randy Couture, you know what I'm saying, with his bite down and his mouthpiece grit type conversation. But you also had that house, you know what I'm saying, that would explain to you how these guys would train and how these guys would break, how they would break these guys in this house. So, you know, the house was very instrumental into respecting what these guys do. You know what I mean? So it basically it legitimized, you know what I'm saying, what those guys were doing. So, you know, you had the house, then you had the Fight Quest, and you had Human Weapon, you know what I'm saying, and you had, you know, Sure Dog and MMA Weekly, MMA Junkie. You had so much stuff that could keep you occupied. that could, you know, but you wouldn't waste your whole, if you were listening and looking into MMA, you was going to better your life, man. You know what I'm saying? It just was too much positivity. And that's one thing that I kind of think they try to keep it there, you know what I'm saying, but it's kind of lacking. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of forced. It's kind of, you know, it just, I don't know, something about it just don't feel. When you think about fighters, man, you think about having positive attitude, but they still fighters. You know what I'm saying? You know, it wasn't nothing about Chris Lieben that didn't make you think, yeah, this dude a wild boy. You know what I'm saying? All of them. So anyway, man, I want to cut this short, you know what I'm saying, before it just becomes mindless rambling and reaching, grabbing for straws. You know, this whole thing about Stipe and Daniel Cormier. I think it's coming in July. You know what I'm saying? So we got a lot of time. I'm just bored. You know what I'm saying? Sitting here thinking to myself, hey man, I want to create some content. You know what I'm saying? I want to talk some shit. You know what I'm saying? To the normal folks out there that just want to hear some shit talk. And I hope you find it. You know what I'm saying? If you do, you know what I'm saying? Come check me out on Spreaker, man. It's the I Think I'm Blackballed podcast. This is the Squabbling Game edition. And shit, man, I'm pretty sure we'll talk about this again. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I can talk about anything that I haven't talked about already. I love to break down fights. You know, when I look at fights, I don't even really care who wins and who loses. You know, I'm just, I don't know, man. I'm just a guy, man. I don't really put the politics into the sport. You know what I'm saying? Because the whole point of the sport, in my opinion, is, you know, on aesthetics, it's a sport. But in real life, it's defense. It's defending yourself. You know what I mean? So a lot of times you like to, if you think the way I think, you know what I'm saying, you like to see a person that may be somewhat of a bully or somebody that's trying to get an upper hand on you. And you would like to know, what can I do to this particular person, this particular body type, if he possessed this particular skill set, what skill set counters that move? You understand what I'm saying? So that's really what I look at. It's really the way my brain works when I look at MMA and boxing or whatever the situation may be. You know what I'm saying? I really don't look at it because I'm homering a country or a guy. You know, every now and then you find a guy you want to homer. You know, I got Earl Spence right now. I've been homering for Dan for a while, even though sometimes they get on my nerve. But, you know, fuck, if you know DC, he get on everybody's nerves. So that's what that is. Homer for Anderson Silva, Homer for BJ Penn, you know what I'm saying? Homer for Rampage Jackson when he was in his prime. So, but for the most part, I don't really root for a winner. You know what I'm saying? I just like to see the style clash. And I thought the Khabib and Edson Barboza was a great style clash. You know what I'm saying? Just because they so top heavy in what they do, and you know, history tells a story. The wrestler gonna win every time. If the wrestler has enough, you know, just enough tenacity and gall to get through the striking, enough grit to compete enough to get to where he does what he does, the wrestler is going to win pretty much every time in a sport. You know what I'm saying? So put your money on the wrestler, man. You know what I'm saying all the time. Don't always work that way. Got to be a dynamic wrestler. They got a little striking prowess, you know what I'm saying? Got a little craft to him with the striking. Another thing about Khabib haven't had enough fights to peep out his tendencies and shit like that. So he pretty much had an advantage over Edson. Edson been around for a while. Edson done had some losses. Edson done got better. But at the end of the day, Edson is still Edson. Okay. Oh, that's my little Shaq Nasty coming on. So I guess that's my cue to get up off of here, man. You get the gist of what I'm trying to say, man. We'll keep this thing going. And should have spoke about some Earl Spence and Lamont Peterson. Maybe I'll come back on here, man, and give my wrap up of how dynamic Earl looked in the fight against Lamont. Maybe I'll come back and we'll talk about some Earl versus Keith Thurman and what's on the future for Earl Spence. Terrence Crawford, Keith Thurman, you know what I'm saying? You know, we got a few cats in line, but I don't see people raising their hand too fast to getting over to Earl Spence. So we'll talk about that in the future, man. I'm gonna go on and get up off of here, man. Peace out.